Already? All right, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us electronically on a really fantastic day in the state of Washington. The sun is shining as brightly as I've ever seen it here in our state. And there's at least one reason for that, and that is the cloud, the shadow of uncertainty over our dreamers has been removed. They are now free to continue their studies, their work, their friendship, their community leadership. And I hope everybody is in as great a mood as I am today to see the success we have had standing up against a president who wanted to destroy the dreams of 16,000 dreamers in the state of Washington. I could not be more pleased. And I will just tell you on a personal basis, when I've met these dreamers, that when they came here to Olympia a few years ago, when we were working to make sure they could continue their studies in the state of Washington, and I got to meet some of these young folks, when you looked in their eyes, you could see fountains of hope and aspiration and dedication to their futures. And if you were not inspired by that, you had the coldest human heart you could possibly have. So right now, these people have been courageous and resilient and resourceful, where they've had to live under this cloud for years now of uncertainty of whether Donald Trump would realize his goals of removing 16,000 of our most energetic young people in our state, and that's the Dreamers. And he's been denied that today by the United States Supreme Court. We have long believed what he did was illegal. That has now been confirmed by the United States Supreme Court. And we know that the students now who are at University of Washington, Washington State, Western Washington, the schools across this state, those who are now on the cusp of becoming physicians and lawyers and business people and nurses, they are going to be able to continue to live their dreams in the state of Washington. And this is of enormous personal benefit to them that you probably can't underestimate or overestimate. But it is a big win for the state of Washington, too, because these people are leaders in our community. These are some of the most resourceful people I've ever met. And when I said courageous, that's an accurate assessment. Imagine living for years under this knowledge that someone in the White House was trying to remove you from your home, a home that many of these people had for decades in the state of Washington. So that takes some gumption to continue your studying, continue in your work, continue to coach soccer and be a good neighbor, and they've done this by the tens of thousands. Now, this is a day of joy across the United States, of course. This protects 700,000 people who've used the deferred action for children in the United States. So it is not just our dreamers, it's dreamers across the United States. There is something important to realize, though, and that is our work is not completed. The decision by the Supreme Court potentially could allow Donald Trump to again try to tear people away from campuses and send them out of the United States. We cannot allow that. And I'm calling on all Washingtonians to make their voices heard loud and clear to this president that he should take this loss and forego this effort to remove these people. Look, he ought to know that once he's touched this hot stove, he ought not to touch it again. And I'm calling on everyone, particularly Republican leaders. I really hope that those who are Republican office holders in the state legislature, in Congress, will let their views be known that President Trump needs to let these dreamers stay in the United States, and he should not try this effort again to destroy the protection that has been set up. If we speak loud enough, hopefully he will go off to other endeavors and leave the dreamers to their dreams and leave Washingtonians to our efforts to build a better community with these dreamers' energies and talents. I hope that we will succeed in that regard. Now, we know that the Congress could play a very important role here. They could make this permanent by statute, so we wouldn't have to worry about the President Trump. That's another avenue. But if we can just get the president to defer his further action, that ought to be a great step forward. So I wanted to celebrate today, and normally we'd celebrate by dancing all night in a situation like this, but because of the pandemic we're in, we're celebrating electronically. And I've brought some leaders here to discuss what this means to them and their community, to have a chance to celebrate even electronically this fantastic day. So I'm going to first introduce Luis Cortez, who is at the table when this case was argued with the U.S. Supreme Court. And Luis, I am very intrigued to hear your story. And this is a victory that's one of the most important victories during my lifetime I've seen at the Supreme Court level. And to think that you led the nation on this from Washington State is a real tribute. So I would like to turn this over for you for comments about what this victory means. And thanks for joining us on short notice. Luis.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Governor Inslee, for having me and proposing this space. This is a humongous win for the immigrant rights movement in that it was part of a larger sustained effort from Dreamers before, Daca was announced. And one of the things that we set out to do in 2017 when this program was rescinded and we filed a lawsuit is that we wanted to protect DACA for not just, the hundreds of thousands of DACA recipients, but all of the families and communities that benefit from them. We're talking about millions of people. And that's what happened today. The Supreme Court said that the way in which President Trump terminated the program was unlawful. It was what we argued at the Supreme Court. I was there as one of the lead attorneys helping present the case. And ultimately it says that the president is not above the law. He needs to follow the right procedures if that's going to happen. Now, whether that ultimately would happen, we'll yet to see. He might just go on to other endeavors. But for now, DACA is protected.
Luis, tell me about your practice. How did you end up getting involved in this case? It seems like an exciting professional endeavor.
So I first got involved in this case in February of 2017, a few months before the DACA program was ultimately terminated, when a young man living here in Washington by the name of Daniel Ramirez was picked up by ICE and his DACA was taken away from him, really for no reason. And so we started to really want to protect DACA on an individual basis. And it was then that we figured out the legal contours of DACA. What is it? What kind of protection does it provide? And it was a good blueprint to then bring the DACA litigation at a national stage. So really, a lot of the arguments that really shaped the arguments at the Supreme Court were litigated right here in Washington, in Seattle.
Well, we are proud of your achievement. We'll consider it a Washington homegrown victory. We're waiting for the Mariners to get to the World Series, but while we're waiting, we had this victory, and we want to thank you for it. Luis, by the way, I'd like to, if I may, as part of this celebration, I have a certain privilege as governor of the state of Washington, and that is that when I meet somebody in Washington who really inspires me and has helped our state in big ways, I can name them the Washingtonian of the day. And when I do that, I take this pin off. It's a Washington State apple. Of course, we have the best apples in the world. And I pin them on them. And today, Luis, I'd like to declare that you are Washingtonian of the day. And when we meet, when we can no longer socially distance, I'm going to pin this on you and get your certificate. You deserve this, and I'm proud to have met you even electronically here. So thanks a million for what you've done for us.
Thank you so much, Governor Inslee. That means a lot.
Well, you've done it for everybody. You've done it for the neighbors of Dreamers and the employers of Dreamers and the students who are going to learn from Dreamers when they're teaching. This was a victory for everyone in this state, not just the Dreamers. So I think you earned this pin. We have Alejandra Perez of the Washington Dream Coalition. Could you share some views with us?
Absolutely. Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me here. My name is Alejandra Perez. I'm one of the undocumented folks here, a DACA recipient. I guess just a little bit about myself. I was born in Guatemala, and I've been living in the great state of Washington since 2009. So it's been really great to be here. Washington State is actually what gave me access to learn that I could go to college, regardless of anything that was going on here. And once I was a college student at UW Bethel, I started to get to organize with the Washington Dream Coalition, really focusing on our education equity work. And we were one of the folks who fought, for the Washington State Dream Act and the college-bound eligibility expansion, both in 2014 and 2017. So it's been really awesome to do work here in the state to continue to expand our education equity here. But yeah, for me, this morning when I woke up, I was in complete disbelief. I was honestly expecting the worst. I've been organizing a lot through the pandemic. I'm actually one of the folks who started the COVID-19 relief fund for undocumented folks in the state of Washington. Our grassroots fund has been doing that. So I've been seeing a lot how our undocumented community has been affected. And honestly, everything in 2020 has been chaotic, needless to say. So it was finally something that was really cool to hear this morning. And I was just really honestly I could not believe it. There's a group chat of us going on. I know Luis is in it, and he texted, "We won," and I'm like, "What? I swear, like I don't believe it." But after taking that in and being in community virtually through text and through phone calls with folks, now at 3:16 p.m. I can say I definitely believe it, and I'm definitely happy for this victory that we have, knowing that there's so much more that we have to do more for our undocumented community, not only here in the state, but the rest of the country.
Alejandra, did we happen to meet? Were you here in Olympia when we were working on the Washington Dream Act? By chance?
Yes, I was there. Yes.
Well, you had a group of people that just revved me up on this, and I want to thank you for what you did during that legislation as well. And so thanks for your leadership. And go Dogs! I'm glad that we've got we got one more dog who's going to get to stay in Washington State for the next Apple Cup. So I thank you.
Thank you.
We have Yasmine Aguilar, who's Deputy Director of Central Latino. Yasmine, could you share a story with us?
Yes. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Governor, for having me here. And it's so beautiful to see a lot of familiar faces on this chat and this video. I think that for me, it was the same feeling. So a little bit about myself. My name is Yasmine Aguilar. I am currently serving as a Deputy Director of Centro Latino, which is a nonprofit organization serving and emphasizing its resources on the Latino, Indigenous, and undocumented communities in the Pierce County and Thurston counties. But actually, funny enough, I grew up on the eastern side of Washington. So I grew up in Pasco in the Tri-City area, then moved. I am a proud Wildcat and also a proud Husky as well. And I think that this morning for me was unbelievable, many further reasons. I also jumped on a group chat with Luis, and I was like, we won. And it was really happy. A lot of the work that we do is emotional labor. It's labor that it's not necessarily paid, but that it gets paid off whenever we help our community, whenever we see that our parents are happy and that we have that sense of protection once again. Although it's not fully, it's not completely, and it's a little bit unfair because it should be for the 11 million of immigrants that we have in the country. We are not the only ones. I think that this is a fight that should be continuing. But I am proud, and like Alejandra said, I still can't believe it until right now I'm actually saying and expressing my feelings and my happiness about this, because it means that other individuals that previously had not had the chance to apply for the program can now apply, and that just opens more doors to more people and more opportunities. And I'm just so happy that there's some other individuals that get to have access to what I had access to.
Yasmine, did you have a degree from University of Washington too?
Yes, I actually graduated from the UW College last year.
Which college?
From the College of Education.
Oh, great. Could you teach someday, do you think?
I do see myself as a professor someday. I do, however, want to pursue law school at some point. I think that I want to do some type of constitutional law. I love policy, and one of the main factors as to why is because there's so many changes that we have to do in our community. Currently, in my position, I always tell my clients that I am not failing them. I'm failing my parents, because it is my parents who, would come through an organization looking for help and resources. So I'm just happy to be serving my community. It was worth it.
Well, thanks for your leadership. We're going to look forward to when you're in partnership with Luis. So that'll be a good law firm someday. We look forward to that. We have Satali Ramirez with us, who is previously interned with our office and is a Western Washington Viking, I believe. Satali.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Governor Inslee, for opening up this space. I'm really excited to be here, and it's truly an honor to really just wake up to this amazing news. Being a Daca recipient myself, a little bit about myself. I am a Viking, went to Western and pursuing my business degree. But outside of that, I actually found that I really enjoy entrepreneurship, and I actually started my own financial firm, helping individual business owners and families with their financial goals and dreams. And that also includes undocumented people as well. So I'm really glad to be able to do that and follow my dreams, and really just, I'm super excited, and I really want to thank everybody on the call for all your efforts and everything you've done to really just move this forward. And, I know that this is a small milestone and this long journey we have ahead of us in victory. And really excited, kind of touching on what Yasmine said, knowing that other people can apply to the Daca program and other people can benefit. It just means the world. I mean, Daca means the world to me. Gives us the protection. It allows me to stay here in this beautiful state of Washington that I call home, and really just with my family and friends who I love so much. And I know, again, this is just a small milestone and a small victory in this long journey ahead of us, along with the Black Lives Matter movement as well. And so, again, a true revolution towards equity, justice, peace, and love. And again, just a tiny bit of good. And, it has proven that good has won over evil one more time. And so really excited. And thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm looking forward to your financial services career. And it sounds like it's going to involve some public action as well. So, Tali, just how did you were going to school when this was all going on. You're still going to school. How did you get through this while this cloud was over you? I've always found it remarkable that when I've met dreamers, they seem upbeat and untroubled. How'd you do that?
Yeah, so honestly, I feel like just in general, I'm a very optimistic person, so I feel like that's just a blessing, a gift I've been given. But I think really just it has been coming down to all the resources that Washington State has provided us, and really all the allies and people that have been in our corner, and people that have good hearts and understand that, at the end of the day, this is a long fight to equity, right, and to justice for everyone. And so I think definitely just knowing that I have other people who support me, who truly see me as a human being and not someone who is legal, has really definitely, contributed to that, and also my family and friends. But definitely just being optimistic and knowing that at the end of the day, I'm in a great state in Washington, and I really hope the best for the rest of the country, for the rest of the DACA recipients that maybe aren't so lucky and they are in other states. But again, this is a long victory, and really blessed to be here and really blessed to continue this fight and to be a DACA recipient.
We're lucky you're here. How long have you lived in the United States?
I've been here 14 years, so I got here when I was 8. Yeah.
Great.
8 years old, yeah.
Well, we'll look forward to another 90 years at least, so I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you so much, Governor Inslee.
And thank you, and thanks for your internship with. It was very productive. You wrote a very beautiful piece for us, so I appreciate your talents. I've seen them firsthand.
Thank you.
Kamu, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. Could you help us?
Kamal, Shega. The CH makes like a SH sound.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Could you share some comments with us?
Yeah, I think like everybody else, part of being undocumented in this country has meant that you're always looking over your shoulder. You never have certainty. You never know if ICE could, pick you or someone you love up. And so, like many of us, we were refreshing SCOTUS blog every Monday and Thursday for the past few weeks, trying to understand what our lives would be like in these months. And I'm in the same group chat with Ale and Luis, and it seems like every person that has DACA in Washington State is in that in that group chat. And so when the decision came down, a lot of reactions, a lot of emojis, and we're all really relieved, it feels like, to just know what life, that there'd be certainty for those of us that have DACA and are working, especially, all of this is happening in the context of a pandemic that's ravaging through our communities. Many of us have family, friends who are on the front lines, people who either work in the fields or in the healthcare sector, or our teachers, and even us ourselves. We're working with nonprofits and communities that are really struggling to handle the pandemic. And I know that people like Ale are working with the school districts as they're transitioning. So this was allowed for our shoulders feel a little lighter, and we could catch a breath and then think about what comes next. For me, I came to the U.S. when I was 6 years old. We landed in a little town called Irmo, South Carolina. That was our big introduction to the U.S. And then been living in Washington State ever since, from Tacoma. Shout out to the 253. And went to high school in Stadium, and then I went with, and now I lead a nonprofit called Washington Census Alliance. So I'm grateful for the opportunity that this decision has made, but also, it means there's people like, I have a younger sister who was one of the people that couldn't apply for DACA for the first time because of the way the Trump administration had ended DACA. And now, we're urgently looking for USCIS to put out new guidance on a lot of people that are waiting to have the same protections that me and the folks on this call enjoy. And I think, I'd be remiss, because I know there's a lot of other undocumented people, friends outside of Washington State who are watching. And one of the things that they're looking for is for leaders like you to be pushing your party, and for your standard bearer to commit, if there is a new administration, we know how desperately we need one, given not just like undocumented immigrants, but everybody that is relying on them. Everybody's relying on, people like my parents working in the healthcare system, people like our friends working the fields. There's a commitment on day one to ending deportations. It just doesn't make sense for, certainly, you agree, it doesn't make sense for people like us to be in danger of deportation, but also doesn't make sense for people like our parents to be in danger of deportation. Doesn't make sense for our friends and neighbors and other workers. And that's something that we're going to be looking out for is, this decision proves that for the last 8 years, we can do DACA. We have a process for assessing each person's individual case. There's no reason for me to not see that those protections expanded to our parents. If we could do it for 800,000 young people like me, we could do it for all 11 million. And I'm wondering if this case has made you think about that and how you're reflecting on the last 8 years. And, part of the reason we did the DREAM Act and other key Washington border protections is because we weren't able to get immigration through. And we didn't have a Democrat in the White House that was committed to not deporting people. Many of us have lost friends to deportation through those first early Obama years before, undocumented people like rose up and protested and made sure that we got DACA, 4 years later. I'd like to hear from you directly, and if you're going to be calling for the Biden campaign, for your party, and what you support the next administration doing on day one to protect our families.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, I'm very confident that the aspirant to the White House that is in my party is going to be a bold, assertive, and I believe successful leader to get the comprehensive immigration reform we know that is necessary for 11 million people who are our co-workers, who are our neighbors, who are our soccer coaches, who are joining us in our houses of faith, who are working so hard that we can finally get Congress to stop using dreamers as bargaining chips and start actually getting comprehensive immigration reform through. I'm very confident of Vice President Biden's ability to do that. I know he's committed to it, and I know it's necessary. Now, in the short term, though, let me tell you that I think we need some of the folks in the Republican Party today to dial up the president and frankly ask him to give up this effort to remove 700,000 people like you and the young people who just spoke from this country. And so I'm very confident of our nominee. We need some other folks of both parties to rise up to help right now, and I feel good of that. By the way, thanks your works on the census. This is so important this year that everyone participate in the census. It's never more important, and I hope that you're very successful giving everybody a voice in the census. With that, Emily, do we have anyone else who I need to introduce? Well, listen, I just wanted to thank you for a chance to celebrate with you. I didn't want to celebrate by myself. And you have shown the story of America, which is growth and young talent, really bringing in new vital blood to this country. And we're seeing that. And thank goodness we've had a decision that is going to continue that. And I'm looking forward to your careers. I know they're going to be brilliant in our state. And I look forward to working with you, too. Now, one thing, when you celebrate tonight, please do so responsibly with social distancing and a mask, and take care of yourself. We care about you. We need you, and now we're going to have you in our state. So thanks a million. Take care. Wash your hands.
There's still going to be a Q&A section with the governor.
Oh, I don't think so. I've got to get off. I've got a meeting right now on COVID, unfortunately. But we will have another discussion. Emily, if you can help schedule that maybe next week, if we can do that. So we'll schedule that next week. I got to take care of the pandemic right now with about 20 people. So let's talk next week if that's okay.
My understanding is that the governor is getting pulled out. And I agree. You know, Daca did take immigration reform to happen or legislation. The most important thing is that it came through a president using prosecutorial discretion and the power of that office. Are you going to be calling on the nominee of your party to be expanding DACA to people like my parents immediately on day one? Is there any reason that they should be waiting on Congress's inaction and people should be in detention centers and being deported while we wait for immigration? Is there? And do you think there's any reason that should happen?
Yeah, if you can help us, if we can get a meeting set up.
To answer those questions, I will connect with you.
That meeting be live and on the record?
I'm not entirely
Sure.
Yes,
Take care.
And we have that meeting live and on the record?
Yes, we'll make sure that happens.
I want to make sure that we also talk about the 100 million worker relief fund for undocumented folks and to make a very public commitment from the governor. It's a desperate need right now. Yes, we need the governor to commit to $100 million for undocumented workers. That is something that he can immediately do, that we don't need to wait on the administration to do, but we can do it as a state. So if we can make that happen and get his commitment publicly for that, the pandemic is hitting us like no other in ways that other people are not.